Yeah, I definitely buy it. I mean, I think that everybody who said that went to practice said that they seen Shedeur gaining the momentum, and it went from crowning Deshaun to, well, I can see Shedeur being the starting quarterback. The fact of the matter is this:
I think Deshaun's in the lead, but I think Shedeur is there as well. I don't know whether the Browns want you to think that or whether it's a legit competition.
The Cleveland Browns quarterback battle was supposed to be simple. Deshaun Watson had the contract, he had the experience, he had the name, he had the early edge. Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be the younger option chasing from behind, but now the story is changing. The Browns have not named a starter. Todd Monken is still waiting. Mary Kay Cabot says Shedeur has closed the gap. And every day this battle stays open, the pressure moves away from Shedeur and lands right on Watson. The narrative is moving. It is not just fans online pushing Shedeur anymore. Local media is starting to talk differently. Reporters are not saying Watson has already locked this thing up. They're not treating Shedeur like a side story. They're asking if the whole QB1 battle has shifted. That alone tells you how much the conversation has changed.
I really don't know. I'm not going to name a number one, so that I am not going to name. That chances are that's not going to, I shouldn't say that. Chances are I will not. Now, once we get to the fall, we'll have to dissect the reps how we see fit. I just don't see it after the way Shedeur's played and Deshaun's played. They both played well enough to earn.
Monken had a chance to end the drama. He could have said Watson is the starter. He could have said the veteran still has the clear lead. He could have shut down the Shedeur talk before training camp, but he did not. He said the decision would continue. That is not a small thing. It means Shedeur did enough to keep the door open. And that is why this is so good for Shedeur. He does not need to win the job in June. He just needs to keep the race alive. The longer this battle goes, the more the Browns have to judge the players on what they are doing now, not what Watson did years ago, not what the contract says, not what people assumed before camp, what they are doing now.
Happening. I think Shedeur has come on so strong in the last few weeks that it's making them think, maybe we should see what he can do in training camp before we decide that perhaps Deshaun Watson might be QB1 on the depth chart.
Mary Kay's report is the turning point. She said Watson had the early edge. That is fair. He is the veteran. He knows NFL defenses. He has played real games. But Shedeur did not stay buried. He worked his way back. He improved late in OTAs and minicamp. He got better in the areas coaches actually care about. That is when the story changed. The key word is gap. Shedeur did not have to be perfect. He had to close the gap. And once the gap closes, everything becomes uncomfortable for Watson. Because Watson is not just competing as a normal veteran. He is competing with the weight of his contract and the weight of what he has not shown in Cleveland. If he is not clearly better than Shedeur, the Browns have a problem.
And I think he did a phenomenal job this offseason. That really started in January and February. And then certainly as we got into having, real practices in May, his growth has been tremendous. So we're all very excited to see, Shedeur's, fall camp, preseason, things of that nature when we get into padded situations, live situations, less scripted. But his growth has truly been phenomenal.
That is the football part. Shedeur improved with progressions. He got the ball out better. His footwork became cleaner. He looked more comfortable operating the offense. These details matter. This is not just about a few nice throws. This is about whether Monken can trust him to run the system. And that is where the narrative really shifts. At first, people talked about Shedeur like he was the exciting name in the room. Now they're talking about him like a real football threat to Watson. That is different. Hype gets attention. Progress changes depth charts.
I guess that's how you're supposed to. I'm not looking at it like I'm competing with anybody. It's an old saying that they used to say, keep your eyes on your own paper. He's basically telling you, I can't be focused on what Deshaun Watson is doing. I need to make sure that I'm handling my own business.
That mental approach matters. Because this battle is not only about arm talent, it is about pressure. Watson is expected to win because of his contract. Shedeur is expected by many to lose because of his draft slot. That creates two completely different pressures. Watson has to prove he is still that guy. Shedeur only has to prove he belongs. And when the underdog keeps stacking good days, the energy in the building changes. That is what is happening right now. Shedeur is making the Browns wait. He is making Monken keep the competition alive. He is making local media adjust. He is making fans ask harder questions. And he is making Watson earn something many people thought would be handed to him.
I think it's an open competition. I don't get why it wouldn't be an open competition. I don't mean that saying it harshly. I don't think there's enough film over the last couple of years, one way or another, to say, boy, we have our starter at quarterback yet, whether internally or externally.
That is the real danger for Watson. Once the words "far from over" enter the conversation, the old assumptions start falling apart. If Watson was truly dominating, there would be no need for this. If Shedeur was clearly not ready, Monken would not drag the battle into camp, but the Browns are still waiting because the field has not given them a clean answer. And that is exactly why the next phase matters. Training camp is different. Pads change things. Pressure changes things. Third down changes things. Red zone changes things. A quarterback can look good in shorts, but when the defense hits back, the coaches learn more. That is why Monken wants to wait. He wants to see who handles the real environment.
My thought on who my starting quarterback is and who's in the lead in that competition between him, or I should say between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, it changes by the day. And I think that's a byproduct of the inconsistency that we've seen.
It moves the story from a rumor to reality. The Browns are not just debating names. They are building an offense. Monken needs timing. He needs rhythm. He needs a quarterback who can protect the ball. He needs someone who can run the system without turning every drive into chaos. If Shedeur keeps improving in that structure, the Browns have to take it seriously. And that is exactly why the trade rumors around Shedeur never made much sense. If the Browns were sure Watson was the answer, maybe they could listen. But when Shedeur is closing the gap and the quarterback room is still unsettled, moving him would be strange. Cleveland needs answers, not more mystery. And Shedeur is one of the few players in that room who still gives them upside.
There are talks, ongoing calls about the availability of Shedeur Sanders. The Browns, for whatever reason, don't think he's the guy. That's my opinion. And I'm sure they'll say, what are you talking about? He's in a quarterback battle. Okay.
This shows how much Shedeur has taken over the conversation. A few weeks ago, the debate was whether he could even challenge Watson. Now the debate includes whether teams are calling about him. That is a massive shift. It means Shedeur is no longer being treated like a background quarterback. He is becoming an asset, a storyline, maybe even the Browns' most interesting offensive piece. So, where does this battle stand? Watson may still have the safer path. He has the veteran status, he has the experience, he has the contract. But Shedeur has the momentum, and momentum is dangerous in a quarterback competition. Because contracts don't throw touchdowns, old highlights don't win camp reps, and draft slot does not decide who the locker room believes in. The Browns' QB1 battle started with Watson as the obvious favorite, but the longer this goes, the more it feels like Shedeur is forcing everyone to rethink the story. Monken didn't crown him, Mary Kay didn't crown him, the Browns have not crowned him. But they also haven't shut the door. And sometimes in a quarterback battle, that's all the younger player needs. A door left open, a few more reps, a few more good days, and suddenly the narrative is not about whether Shedeur can catch Watson. It's about whether Watson can stop him.